Hello and welcome to Start for the Week. I often scramble around in my mind trying to think of something to say when it's my turn to offer these. And sometimes I look into scripture for the readings for the day and I find something. And this is the case this week. We're reading at the moment from the book Proverbs in the Old Testament, and this came into view, and wisdom rests in the heart of those who have understanding. Then it goes on slightly more negatively. But that which is in the midst of fools is made known. It seems that in society at the moment, it's important to make yourself known, to get yourself out there, to be heard. And of course, if you find a platform that isn't quite to your taste, you start one of your own and you say something about the truth in order to name that platform. Everyone wants to be heard, apparently. But that verse from Proverbs made me stop. Wisdom, it says, rests in the heart of those who have understanding. It's content, in a sense, to stay in here, to stay here, and only very occasionally to be spoken. And that's important, of course, but I need to remember the resting in the heart, the resting in the mind, before speaking. Now, of course, wisdom isn't so much very, very wise knowledge accrued over decades of experience of life. Wisdom, I think, for us is to do with Christ crucified, the foolishness of God, but also the power and the wisdom of God, as Paul wrote. And that needs to rest in the heart of those who have understanding or who seek to have understanding. And then, by the grace of God, we might be able to speak. David Scott, who was an Anglican priest and a poet, a remarkable person in his own quiet way, wrote a poem about somebody called John Ball, who was back then an elderly priest himself, but who had a great influence on people, especially students. And David wrote of John Ball, he had a private voice which travelled only as far as it needed. So I suppose my thesis is, be wary of people that are assured and full of themselves, actually. There's a lovely, gracious assurance when the gospel is preached from the heart and heard, and I know that that isn't, as far as I know, one of my gifts. I just simply wish to reflect and try to speak. But it is moving to hear people enunciate the faith with great authenticity and love to encourage others. But I know something of that private voice, not from me, but from someone whom I met, and I don't know their name and never will. I was on a train travelling to York when I was a vicar in the York diocese, and I was in my clerical gear, my dog collar and so on, sat just reading a book, and we got to York Station, and I got out, and nothing remarkable about the journey. I started walking over the footbridge, a long one in York Station, and I could hear these footsteps coming up behind me, and a young man pulled up alongside me and said, "Oh, do you mind if I have a word with you? I've got something to say to you." I said, "No, please do." Now, God help me, I thought he was going to say, you don't have to dress in black, you can follow Jesus and so on and so forth. But no, he was much gentler and actually much more profound than that. He looked at me and said, "I hope you don't mind me saying this, but do know that you are a blessing where you are at the moment, and carry on, and the Lord will give you strength." And then, almost apologetically, he moved away. Wisdom that rests in the heart.